It said we can go.
Okay, thank you, Dov. Okay, good morning in this frigid Irvine morning to everybody here, all bundled up. Okay, Parsha Vayigash is really the end game. It's the culmination of that which has been brewing for the past few Parshiot, dealing with the sale of Yosef, Yosef's all the events that took place with him in Egypt. Last week we had his meteoric rise to power, and then we have the brothers coming down to buy food, and then, well, let's go. What I'd like to discuss today is three different approaches to why Yosef didn't contact home during this whole time period, and understanding what he did and didn't do, let's put it like that. And also, I think there are a lot of lessons along the way. There are three different approaches to that. So let's get to Vayigash briefly. And let's just discuss what happened. So Yosef had his dreams. The first dream was, what was the first dream?
I mean, when he was a boy?
Yeah, when he was a boy. What was the first dream that he had? The first one.
Bowing down.
The sheaves were all bowing down to his sheaf. Okay, 11 sheaves bowing down to his sheaf. That was dream number one. Dream number two, sun, moon, 11 stars bowing down to him, right? Not to his star, bowing down to him. The brothers were not all that enamored by these dreams, okay? And that coupled with Yosef's favoritism that the father was showing to him, and Yosef bringing everything bad that he saw about the brothers, often misunderstanding, misrepresenting events, bring it to the father. The brothers hated Yosef. The brothers debated about killing him. The brothers ended up selling him. And Yosef went down to Mitzrayim. He was then sold as a slave to the house of Potiphar, where he rose in prominence once again. However, the wife of Potiphar was interested in Yosef, tried to seduce Yosef. Yosef, at the last minute, held on and did not succumb to that temptation. She then presented it that he had tried to violate her. Yosef was thrown into prison. Again, in prison, he rises to the top of the prison hierarchy there of prisoners. And then the butler and the baker are sent to prison. He sees their panim zoafim, their faces are saddened. Why they saddened? They had dreams, can't be interpreted. Yosef interprets the dreams and tells the butler to please remember him to Paro, mention him to Paro. Yosef spends an additional 2 years in prison. Then Paro has his dreams. No one can interpret it. The butler knows he's in hot water. He's in a predicament over here. He doesn't like Yosef and does not want to help Yosef, but he knows if he doesn't present to Paro that there's a guy there who can interpret dreams correctly, when Paro hears about it and says, well, then he'll be in the hot seat. Why didn't you tell me about it? See, he belittles Yosef, but tells Paro about Yosef. Yosef is brought out quickly. Yosef interprets the dreams. Yosef is appointed second in command in Egypt. And the dreams, of course, foretold the 7 good years followed by the 7 famine years. In the second famine year, the brothers come down. The brothers come down to Yosef. Yosef recognizes them. They do not recognize him. Yosef accuses them of being spies. And in order to verify that they're not spies, he says, you have to bring down that other brother that you mentioned. They go back home with the food. Yaakov does not want to send Binyamin. Finally, there's no food left. Yehuda guarantees the safe return of Binyamin by saying, if I will not bring him back to you, I will have sinned to you for all eternity. Rashi brings Chazal, the sages, I'll sin to you in this world and in the next world. Yaakov sends Binyamin. They all come down. Everything seems to be fine. They're brought to the palace. They get a little nervous at first, but everything seems to be fine. They have a nice meal, and everything's good. And they're on their way back when they are being pursued by officers of Yosef. Why have you repaid the bad for good? How dare you steal the goblet? Don't you know that our master, he's able to determine these things? And they said, heaven forbid, right? Whoever it's found by should be killed. Everyone else will become your slaves. They search and they find it by Binyamin, right? And now they all head back to Egypt, right? And Yosef said to them at the very end of last week's Parsha, why did you do this? Why did you do this? And whoever it was found by will be my slave, and everyone else go home in peace. In other words, Binyamin will be the slave. That's where we left off. Now, who's not going to be able to countenance such a thing? Right? Well, the father. And who's going to jump forward to defend, to try to fight against this? Yehuda, who guaranteed. That's where we are right now. That's where we are on page 250.
How many years is Yosef in prison?
Altogether, it's going to be 22 years that he'll be away from his father.
No, I mean in prison only with Yosef.
Well, let's see. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It was 9 years after. It was 9 years of the 22. It was 9 years after, and then it was a certain amount of time in Potiphar's house. I'm not sure exactly.
But we know more than 2 years then, right?
Yes, it was 2 extra years. So definitely there was time before that. That's for sure. Okay. So with that, hello Amy. Good morning. With that, we start Parshat Vayigash. Okay. Who'd like to read for us in Hebrew? Yes.
ויגש אליו יהודה ויאמר, בי אדוני, מדבר לעבדך הדבר באוזני, אדוני, ואל לך רבך בעבדך, כי חמוך כפרעה.
A couple more, yeah.
אדוני שאל את עבדיו לאמור, היש לכם אב או אח? ונאמר אל אדוני, יש לנו אב זקן וילד זקונים קטן, ואחיו מת, ויוותר הוא לבדו, לאמו ואביו, Good.
Someone take the first bunch in English.
Then Judah approached him and said, If you please, my lord, may your servant speak a word in my lord's ears, and let not your anger flare up at your servant, for you are like Paro. My lord has asked his servant, saying, Have you a father or brother? And we said to my lord, We have an old father and a young child of his old age. His brother is dead.
Now at this point, he interjects, his brother is dead, right? Because he's afraid. If he says that we don't know where he is, right? You can tell us to bring him also, okay? He alone?
But he alone is left from his mother, and his father loves him.
Go on for a bit.
Mm-hmm. Then you said to your servants, Bring him down to me, and I will set my eye on him. We said to my lord, The youth cannot leave his father, for should he leave his father, he will die. But you said to your servants, If your youngest brother does not come down with you, you will not see my face again.
Good. Next bunch, someone else in English? And it was Sunny? Got that?
Go ahead.
Okay, Amy?
And it was when we went up to your servant my father, we told him my Lord's words, and our father said, Go back, buy us some food. We said, We cannot go down, only if our youngest brother is with us. Then we will go down, for we cannot see the man's face if our youngest brother is not with us. Keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Then your servant, my father, said to us, You know that my wife bore me 2 sons. One has left me, and I presumed, Alas, he has surely been torn to pieces, for I have not seen him since. So should you take this one too from my presence, and disaster befall him, then you will have brought down my hoariness in evil to the grave.
Okay. And now, Sunny?
And now, if I come to your servant my father, and your youth is not with us, since his soul is so bound up with his soul, it will happen that when he sees the youth is missing, he will die. And your servants will have brought down the hoariness of your servant, our father, in sorrow to the grave. For your servant took responsibility for the youth from my father, saying, if I do not bring him back to you, when I will have sinned to my father for all time. Now, therefore, please let your servant remain instead of the youth as a servant to my Lord, and let the youth go up with his brothers. For how can I go up to my father if the youth is not with me, lest I see the evil that will befall my father?
So this is the very emotional, thank you everybody, this is the very emotional petition that Yehuda is making. And look what he says, let's focus on these words for a minute, right? Then your servant, my father, said to us, this is back in verse 27, you know that my wife bore me 2 sons. Now, imagine how difficult this is for Yehuda to say this. Yehuda said that my father said, my wife bore me 2 sons. Who's his wife that bore him 2 sons? Rachel. Not Yehuda's mother. So he's quoting his father as saying, my wife, not my mother, the other wife, gave birth to 2 sons. 2 sons, his wives gave birth to 12 sons. But all that matters to him are these 2 sons. Just imagine how difficult this is for Yehuda to say. And one left me, and I presumed alas he's been torn to pieces. I've not seen him since. If you take this one, my life is over. Again, Yehuda's thinking, hey, there's me and 9 others. But it all revolves around those 2. But that's what he's saying to Yosef. And to a degree, Yehuda has come to terms with this. And therefore, I'll stay a slave, let him go back home. Meaning, if we go back without Binyamin, my father's life is over. If everyone goes back without me, my father's life is not over. It's agonizing hearing these words from Yehuda. Now Joseph, on 253, now Joseph cannot restrain himself in the presence of those stood before him, so he called out, remove everyone from before me. No one remained with him when Joseph made himself known to his brothers. He cried in a loud voice. Egypt heard, Pharaoh's household heard. Joseph said to his brothers, I am Yosef. Is my father still alive? But his brothers could not answer him because they were left disconcerted, to say the least. Talk about an understatement, before him. Then Joseph said to his brothers, come close to me if you please. And they came close and he said, I am Joseph, your brother. It is me, whom you sold into Egypt. And now do not be distressed, nor reproach yourself having sold me here, for it was to be a provider that God sent me ahead of you. 2 years of hunger, for this has been 2 years, 2 of the hunger years in the midst of the land, and there are yet 5 years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvest. God has sent me ahead to ensure your survival in the land, and to sustain you from immense deliverance. And now, not you sent me here, but God. He has made me a father to Paro, his household. Go to my father and say to him, etc., etc. So this is, if we're talking about emotional points in the Torah, I mean, we could argue, but to me, this and Esav, when he realized that the brach had been taken from him, are the time that the Torah really gets into our emotions and really pulls the strings. So, the overwhelming question here is, why did Yosef act the way he did? Why didn't he write home to his father, contact his father at any point? His father has been mourning for 22 years. Why hasn't he contacted home? Why is he putting the brothers through all of this?
Mixture of feelings.
Well, okay. So there are 2 classic approaches, and there's another more modern scholarly approach. Yes?
Wasn't it 22 years that Yaakov's parents didn't hear from him?
Good. So the 22 years, right, rings a little bell, right? And Yaakov was away from his parents for 22 years, and Yosef was away from him for 22 years. That's going to come up soon. Okay. So the first approach, which I think is a bit problematic, and the Kli Yakar brings up the problem. I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. The first approach that I like to present is Ramban. Ramban says that Yosef's dreams, the brothers thought that this was his wish list, right? Reminiscent of Achashverosh asking Haman what should be done to a man to whom the king wants to honor, and Haman gives his own wish list. The brothers saw Yosef as looking to usurp the power, the influence, the lineage, and here are his dreams about his own hopes and aspirations to be the leader over them. But Yosef understood that these dreams were prophecy dreams. And therefore he awkwardly thought that by his sharing this with the brothers, they would understand that he really is the man, and therefore they wouldn't be so jealous. They would recognize that he is the man. As in fact we see that once they come down to Egypt and he's second in command, there is no jealousy. They recognize that he is the man. So Yosef naively, awkwardly thought that would work. Right? The social skills were not all that well honed at that point, and it was a tremendous mistake. According to Ramban, Yosef knew that these were dreams, and he had to take the steps that these dreams will be fulfilled. Let's look at these dreams. The first dream again was what? The sheaves bowing down to his sheaf, right? No sun or moon. So there were 11 sheaves. What was the meaning of that dream? All the brothers will be bowing down to him. Now, actually, if you look up a moment, look back in Miketz, when the brothers first came to Yosef, page 234. I'll go to 232, the very last sentence there. 233. Joseph recognized his brothers, but they did not recognize him. 235. Yosef remembered the dreams that he had dreamt about them. And he said to them, "You're spies. You've come to scout out the land." Rashi says he remembered the dreams and he saw that they were fulfilled. Ramban says, heaven forbid. If that were the case, then why is he putting them and his father through all of this? On the contrary, he remembered the dreams and he knew that they had not been fulfilled. Why were they not fulfilled?
Because they didn't actually bow.
They bowed down to him. Why was the first dream not fulfilled?
Because there weren't 11.
10, not 11. Binyamin was not with them. There were 10 sheaves that bowed down. Now it's interesting to point out, in the first dream, they're bowing down to his sheaf. They're not bowing down to him. They don't know who he is. Right? And the sheaves bowing down to his sheaf represents that in terms of feeding, provisions, they are dependent upon him. So according to Ramban, he saw that the first dream had not yet been fulfilled. So what did he need to do? Binyamin. He needed to engineer Binyamin coming down. So what does he say? You're spies. No, we're not. Yes, you are. No, we're not. Well, who? Tell me about the family. Oh, well, prove you're not spies. Bring down Binyamin. Okay. So again, according to Ramban, he couldn't write home to his father. Not when he was in the house of Potiphar, where really he could have, right? He was well-to-do in that house. Certainly when he's second in command, because if he writes home right away, what's going to happen? What's going to happen?
The brother won't come down.
They'll all come down. So it's perfect. What's the problem though? Right? I'm Yosef. Father, I'm alive. Everyone come down. What's the problem with that?
Well, father's going to told the other brothers what had happened to him originally.
Okay, fair enough. That's going to happen. That's an eventuality that we have to deal with either way. Why couldn't he reveal himself?
Obviously, the way he sees it is not going to come to be exactly the way
It's got to be in order. The first dream is the 11 sheaves. The second dream is stars, sun, and moon, which means the first bowing down, Ramban says, is the brothers without the parents. Second one is the brothers with the parents. So first thing he needs to do is get Binyamin down. First prophecy fulfilled. Check. If that's the case, so then say, at that point say, Ani Yosef. I'm Yosef, bring everyone else down. What was the whole machination there with the goblet? All slaves, he's the slave, keep him the slave. Why was he doing that, according to Ramban? I'm sorry? Ramban's not going with measure for measure. Okay, so, okay, perhaps.
About Benjamin,
I'm sorry?
did they care about Benjamin even though he
Okay.
was still the mother of...
Okay, good. So that's all along the same idea, right? But in terms of Ramban and the fulfillment of the dreams, right? That's mixing in a second approach we're going to soon hear. According to Ramban, that it's all about the dreams. So why not say, Ani Yosef, I'm Yosef at that point, and let everyone come down. The sun, the moon, 11 stars, everyone will bow down. Second dream fulfilled. We're good to go.
You said yourself to bring all of them, the whole clan.
So why didn't he at that point say, I'm Yosef, and then everyone will come down?
Because the first dream they were bowing to a sheep and they didn't know it was Yosef.
Okay, but that would have worked, right? The second dream, they're bowing down to Yosef. So then say, after the first, Binyamin's down, have a nice meal, and say, guess what? I'm Yosef. Everyone's good, I'm not angry, everything's good, bring my father down. So Ramban says he was concerned. If he does that, they're going to all start traveling back. On the way back, they're going to say, guess what? If we go home and tell father Yosef's alive, then we have a serious problem over here. Right? Right? He's going to be furious when he finds out this story. Right? So, what do we have to do? Let's take care of Binyamin. Binyamin is our weak link over here. Right? Yosef was afraid for Binyamin. Right? Even to tell him, to reveal his identity, or in general, he's afraid for Binyamin. The father showed favoritism to me, the son of Rachel, as Yehuda in fact said to him at a later point that we read before. Now with me gone, I'm sure my father's love is all focused on Binyamin. The same way they hated me, they hate Binyamin. I'm afraid to send Binyamin with them. Therefore, he wants to know, is it safe to move ahead with dream number 2, fulfillment? So therefore, he engineers this whole incriminating goblet in Binyamin's bags, and now he hears how the brothers feel. He hears Yehuda saying those words. My father had my father's wife, not my mother. My father's wife had 2 sons, not me and my brothers. Right? And this will destroy him. He hears that. He hears Yehuda said, I'll be there instead of Binyamin. Okay. It's safe. He reveals his identity. The second dream is then fulfilled. What's a problem that we could have with this Ramban's approach?
Yosef's not in control. It's a prophecy. So if God wants this to happen, then it's going to happen, and he doesn't need to go through all these machinations. It's like, it's already been set up, it's already coming to fruition,
Good.
It's already been
Good.
created.
Let me read the Kli Yakar. Yishtomein kol maskil. He quotes the Ramban. And then he says, Yishtomein, kol maskil, every person who thinks this through will be in shock. Right? Why? I'm sorry. Mara Yosef akacha. Sorry. First he's asking the question before he brings Ramban. Right? We're wondering, why is Yosef causing his father anguish and his brothers anguish for no reason? Ramban gave his explanation, and he says, Im yirtza Hashem b'kiyumam, if God wants the dreams to be fulfilled, Hemid kamu b'atzmam, let them be fulfilled. V'Yosef ma pa'al. Right? It's my job, it's my responsibility to fulfill God's plans. I need to act yashar, straight, good, honest. Not cause other people anguish. God has his prophecy dreams. How will they work out? Well, God has a way of working things out without really needing our help all that much. By Yam Suf, God worked out a way for us to get across. Akedah, right? God had said your children will be, right? You will be, etc., etc. And now God's telling me to kill, right? I've got to fulfill my prophecy. Avram said no. I've got to do what God commanded me to do. Moshe, that God's telling him to go be the leader. Moshe keeps stepping back. Let Aaron do it. See, here's Yosef putting his family, father, brothers through anguish because he's got to fulfill the dreams. Kli Yakar does not like Ramban's approach. That's the reason that he gives.
Who is Kli Yakar?
One of the commentators, as is the Ramban. These are the classic commentators that are actually in. This is called Mikros Gedolos. This is where the Chumash that has, right, our Chumash here has Rashi, and then different notes, and has Onkelos on the side there, the Aramaic translation. This has many others. Okay, these are the classic, of the classic commentators. See, he says as follows. He said, well, if God didn't reveal to Yaakov that he, Yosef, was alive, then it must be, the Kli Yakar says, that God wanted him to go through 22 years of being without his child, Mida Keneged Mida, divine reciprocity, for him being away from his father for those 22 years. Okay? And once the 22 years were up, that's when he revealed his identity. That's how he learns in regard to the father. I'm a little uncomfortable with that also, quite honestly. Right? I don't think it's for us, even a Yosef, certainly not for us, to figure out what God's Mida Keneged Mida is. Oh, God's divine, this person's getting that because of this. Whoa. To me, that's shaky ground to go on to. Especially when it then translates into, well, I'm going to cause him more anguish and not reveal to him that I'm alive because it must be God's calculating the 22 years. Right? Right? That seems a little bit, I don't know, it seems a little strange to me. Let's add one thing though, just for a second. But it is interesting. Going back to the issue that we have with Ramban, right? The issue, thank you very much. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol niyeh b'dvaro. Going back to the Ramban's approach and the issue, right? Is it for us to manipulate events to fulfill a prophecy? Right? It can be argued that Yaakov, the tsar, the anguish that Yaakov is going through because of Yosef's attempts to manipulate events to make his prophecy come true, that's something that Yaakov himself deserved, Mida Keneged Mida. Why? Why would that be something? The anguish that Yaakov went through by Yosef being away from him, and Yosef manipulating events to bring about a prophecy, that was also Mida Keneged Mida against Yaakov. Did Yaakov do something similar?
Manipulated with his brother.
Yeah? Janet?
Didn't Laura just say something?
Okay. Yeah. That what? What did he do? He heard a prophecy, or his mother shared a prophecy. The Rav Yavod Sa'ir, the older one will serve the younger one. Right? So what did they do? What did he and his mother conspire? They manipulated events in order to bring about the fulfillment of the prophecy. So now Yosef, right? So he caused that tsar. Now Yosef is also manipulating events in order to bring about a prophecy. Interesting, huh? Now, just a second. Now, Mida Keneged Mida is not always, I tripped somebody, therefore I tripped. Mida Keneged Mida is usually, the idea of Mida Keneged Mida, divine reciprocity, is to show me the mistake that I made. Right? We said that Tamar said to Yehuda, recognize, right, whose cloak, ring, and staff this is. That was meant, Mida Keneged Mida, to make Yehuda realize his mistake when he said to his father, recognize. Okay, yes, Laura.
He was respecting his mother.
Okay.
I mean, his mother didn't give an option.
We can argue on that. Yeah. To me, it's just interesting that there is this similarity of manipulating events in order to make a prophecy happen, and not saying, listen, this is a prophecy, God, you're pretty good. Yeah, you've got it. Right? I'm not going to take steps that are somewhat devious or subterfuge in order to help God bring about what he wants to do. He's got it. Yes, Janet.
So it seems like Laura's comments are spot on in both cases, but what it does suggest is there was a precedent for
perhaps, yeah.
Someone
correct. I hear that.
They needed to
yes, I hear that.
If it was misguided, but
yep.
it certainly was.
That's yes.
To the end.
Yes. Okay.
But it's like
so now, I'm sorry.
Isaac knew that Joseph was alive and well.
Yitzchak knew. Okay, yeah, Isaac knew, yes.
He knew. Maybe they were even corresponding and they were letting them.
We don't,
who knows at that time whether there was a male.
Yeah,
so at least Yitzchak knew that he's alive.
So there's a Rashi that said that Yitzchak knew, but he saw God was not sharing it for whatever reason with Yaakov, so he also didn't share it. Yeah. So let's go further with this Kli Yakar's approach. So again, the reason he didn't tell his father, according to Kli Yakar, is because the 22 years, which again, right, one could have varying levels of comfort with that. But the brothers, right, he did this L'marek avonam, in order to cleanse them of their sins. Okay? In other words, now, again, I'm not so comfortable with my job being putting you through anguish to cleanse you of your sins. But I'd like to soften that a little bit. And what Yosef was trying to do was to orchestrate the brothers' regret, knowing that he's going to reveal himself, he's going to at some point let them know who he is. And therefore, let's have things have been sorted out, somewhat come to terms. So let's go step by step. What's the first thing that Yosef says to the brothers? You are spies. Why would he say to them that they are spies? What does that harken back to?
He used to go out and spy on them.
Okay, they accused him of being a spy. So the first way that a person truly feels remorse is to sense what the other person sensed. Right? If I put you through something, right, then when I start to feel what you're feeling, right? When you're being wrongly accused, right? It's a very, very unnerving, frustrating situation. What story am I going to tell, Natalie? Right? So, when we were living in Israel, So my parents, Aleim Hashem, blessed memory, had an apartment there that they used to rent out. And in between renters, so then Natalie and I would be able to go there for a Shabbos getaway. And one of their requests, reasonable request, was don't come there with the kids. We had a group. Right? They didn't want us coming there with the kids, so, which of course we respected. One time in between renters, the VCR wasn't working. So I called my father. I said, Dad, the VCR is not working. I'd like to call in a repairman to have it fixed before the new. This is when people still used to repair things instead of just getting a new one for $20, right? So before the new renters come in. Father says, sure, take care of that, right? And then I must have passed the phone to some of the kids, whatever. We're talking, whatever. I go to a different room. Right? I called my father back a little while later, a couple of days later. I said, Dad, I found the repairman. So he said, what happened with the VCR? I said, I don't know. I checked the apartment as I do each time after the renter left, and it wasn't working. Father said, I know what happened. What do you mean? I know what happened. You could tell me what really happened. I said, Dad, I have no idea what you're talking about. He said, Shmuel, one of my sons, or Aaron, I forget which was Shmuel. He said, Shmuel told me. I said, what did Shmuel tell you? About Aaron and his hand? I said, Dad, I have no idea what you're talking about. He said, Shmuel told me that Aaron was there. He stuck his hand in. It got he got burnt. He had to go to the hospital. Now, my son Shmuel must have overheard me saying something to Natalie about the VCR not working. He had this dream about his brother doing that. To him, it was absolute reality. He shared it with my father, and my father thought that I was holding back on the information. I didn't want to let him know that I had actually brought the kids to the apartment, and one of them had broken something. I told you not to bring the kids, and you see what. And it was the most frustrating thing in the world when maragla matem, when you're being told that you're something, and well, if you're lying, what are you going to do? You're going to deny it. If you're telling the truth, what are you going to do? You're going to deny it. So you feel so helpless. So the first thing he said to the brothers are, you guys are spies. And then that worked beautifully, actually.
But I don't understand that.
Yes?
Because he was a spy and being malicious about that.
Tail-bearing.
He wasn't being malicious. He thought the things that he saw, right, they thought he was being malicious. Now, this is an interesting conversation. Should children tell parents things that other children are doing?
You mean brothers and sisters?
Brothers and sisters. Should kids tell parents on their siblings?
They have to tell some siblings. Yes.
Okay, right? So so-and-so took a cookie. You shouldn't tell the parents. So-and-so is smoking crack. You should tell your parents, right? I mean, this is what I've actually told my kids when they ask this. I don't expect I expect you guys to look out for one another and help one another, right? And not come running to me. But if someone is doing something that is harmful, then I expect you, as a show of love and care for that person, to take the necessary steps. When I was teaching high school, so kids would sit down with me after class and say, Rabbi Ciner, can I share something private with you? And I'd say, yes. I said, can we be confident that you won't share with anyone else? And my answer always was, if it's not something that I feel that you are in danger, or someone else is in danger, then you have my absolute word, it will never be shared. But if it's you or someone else is in danger, then understand that I care about you, and I will share it to make sure that you're not in danger. Yosef thought the brothers were in danger, in spiritual danger, whatever it was. Yosef miscalculated. They thought it was malicious, but it wasn't malicious. So the first thing is they have a sense of what it's like to be told. And they deny, no, we came down to get some food, and Yosef persists, and then, what does he say? He says that you're Meraglim, and he puts them into prison for 3 days. Right? Now, and he hears them talking, and they're saying, why is this happening to us? And it must be that we heard the cries of my brother, and we didn't do anything about it. So they're starting to have a sense of things that they've done wrong. Then, right, okay, and then bring Binyamin, etc. They come back. He treats them very well, right? And then he plants the cup by Binyamin. At this point, what does he want to see? Right? At this point, he is masterfully orchestrating a redo. This is take 2 of the sale of Yosef. Take 2 of the sale of Yosef. But instead of you guys having to take the initiative and decide to sell Binyamin as a slave, Binyamin has been caught. Now, do they know if Binyamin was if it was planted in Binyamin, if he was set up? They don't know. Here's Binyamin. The goblet's been found in Binyamin's bag. He's going to say, he didn't break the VCR. They don't know. They don't know. And now Yosef says Binyamin will be a slave. This is perfect. This is being served to them on a silver platter. They don't have to do anything. Binyamin is being taken away as a slave. They go back home and they tell their father, listen, Dad, it was terrible. Right? Binyamin stole the goblet. Ludicrous. I don't know what got into him. He stole the goblet. He was caught. He was taken as a slave. This is perfect. They don't know that Binyamin is innocent. They don't know it was planted. This is perfect. They can get rid of the second son of Rachel, the second favorite son of their father, without them having to do anything. It's all being signed, sealed, delivered right there for them for the taking. It's perfect. Let's see. Let's see how they're going to react. And then, our Parsha, Vayigash, he hears how Yehuda reacts. He hears Yehuda saying what we focused on before the first time through. My father had one, said my wife had 2 sons. They're okay. They've come around. What a transformation. From being so jealous and angry and frustrated to the point of almost killing Yosef, to accepting the fact, my father has a special bond with this child, with these 2 children. And I'm okay. And I want to protect my father. Because that bond is so strong that he could die over the anguish of that bond being broken. And I'm okay with that. Yosef hears that and he says, okay, we've gotten to the right place. And he says, Ani Yosef, I'm Yosef, ha'od avichai, is my father still alive? That is slightly adjusted, right? A slightly softened kliyakar. He's not there to make them do as an atonement, right? I mean, that's what he means. It's not for me to atone, to put someone through hell so they get atoned, but it is for me to show someone the mistakes that they've made, that they'll come to that realization and emerge a better person as a result of that. Now?
He does say after, this is Hashem's, this is all came from Hashem's side. It's sort of like, it's not your, this was all part of the plan.
100%.
So he really is there to
sort of
100%, 100%, right? That's an excellent point, right? And he really wants to bring them back around there, and he lets them know, right, that it's not you who sent me down here, it's Hashem who sent me down here. Although it is interesting that he needed to do, it's Hashem that sent me down here, but he did need to manipulate all the events for the dream, right? But he put them at ease and said, I'm not viewing it as you who've done this to me. And this is very, very important also, a very important point that comes up often in our lives. Someone causes us some pain. Our belief is that whatever pain I go through is heavenly destined to come my way. Now that person might have to answer to God, why did they choose to put me through that agony, that pain, that discomfort, whatever it is, that humiliation, whatever it might be. That's between them and God. But they're not the ones that, it's not because of them that I had this humiliation. The Stipler, the Rav Yisroel Yaakov Kanievsky, has on his Birchas Parity, he has a sefer on the Parsha. And he illustrates this very beautifully, this idea that the amount of tsar, of anguish supposed to have, that's meted out every day. So I always tell the guys, I tell people, I can't get out of bed in the morning. Right? I can't make it to minyan. I'm just too tired. Right? So you don't want to put yourself through that discomfort. That discomfort's going to come to you, that level of discomfort, that day's discomfort is going to come to you that day. So decide, do I use it to do something productive, right? Or do I miss the bus or stub my toe or open the bathroom mirror into my nose, right? It's going to come either way, right? So what Yosef is saying to them is, right, you're not the ones that did this. And that's how I view it. Between you and God, you can sort that out. That's not my deal. That's not my business. Right? Yeah, Laura.
Right. So on the one hand, it's not my business. On the other hand, he does go through all of these machinations to prove that now that they're okay with it and that they've accepted. It's like, no, it's not. Like, what business is it of his? How does that have to do with it?
Okay, so I'd say two things to that. First of all, if I really care about you, I want to bring you around to a healthier point.
So I'm going to mess with your head to do that?
Well, I'm going to present certain situations that will make you reevaluate. I'm going to present certain situations that will force you to reevaluate. And also, it could also be his own safety that he was concerned about. He needs to see where are they at, right, before he reveals.
Then we're back to the prophecy thing. It's like, okay, God said this, that, and the other, and now...
I don't know if I need the prophecy for that. I want to let my father know that I'm alive at a certain point. Right? I want to do with that without being jumped by you guys, right? And I need to know where we're at.
One quick question.
Yeah.
Whoever has the goblet will die. So I flashed back to when they were leaving Laban's house, and they said whoever has the idols will die, and that's kind of like a reason given for the fact whoever will die.
Yeah, interesting.
So if it's that way in this situation, why not in this situation?
Well, he died. I'm kidding.
Eventually, yes.
I think every answer brings like 10 more questions.
Yeah, that's interesting. It could be that what Yaakov said has a little more, that's got to be fulfilled as opposed to what the brother said. That's an interesting question. I'm not sure.
But
yeah.
The question I have, why at this point he already knows his father is alive? Why he's bringing his elderly father to Egypt instead of setting by convoy and going to this?
Okay. So first of all, there's a famine in the land there. So
famine, he can bring food. He's powerful now.
That's interesting. I'm not sure. It's interesting being broached that way, right?
And why is he asking, is my father alive?
Okay, so why is he not going to the father, sending food to the father?
To show his
right. I'm not sure. Right. Perhaps to show. I'm not sure. His father comes and lives another 17 years, so his father's not on his last legs.
But he
Yeah.
is living, but his living is not land of Israel. He's living in Galut, right?
Yeah,
It's a beginning of Galut.
yeah. That's an interesting question. Why he asks, is my father still alive? They already told him his father's alive, so there are two main approaches to that. One approach is he was worried, right? He thought they might have just said that to him in order just to to try to keep things running smoothly. Now he wants to know, is he really alive? Or, according to the Medrash compares this to the day of judgment that every human being needs to face, and says to them, right, what Yosef was saying to them was the harshest of rebuke, right? Yehuda, you're crying, my father, I care so much about my father, don't do this to my father, my father, my father, my father. He says to them, are you kidding? You're moaning to me, crying to me, that you're so careful about the pain that will be caused to your father. You don't want to cause your father pain. I'm Yosef. I know the pain you caused to your father. Don't you dare tell me that you're concerned about causing pain to your father. That will work for anyone else in the world besides me. So that's a whole different slam. But I do want to get to a third approach, which is very, very interesting. And we assume that the Bible characters know what we know. But they don't necessarily know everything that we know. Right? Just as an aside, right? Very often we get upset with somebody because we know something, and why are they doing that? But understand, not everyone knows what you know. Not everyone sees it the same way as you. But let's go back to this story. Yosef had the dream. The first dream told to the brothers, and they got angry. He told the second dream to his father. What did his father say to him? Well, I and your father rebuked him. Will I and your mother and your brothers come bow down to you? Come bow down to you? Plus says Vaviv, right? And the father kept it inside. Rashi says that he was just acting angry on the outside so the brothers would calm down, but he was really hoping that it would happen. Did Yosef know that? No. Then what happens? The brothers are going, they're grazing their flocks. Where are they grazing their flocks? Shechem. What happened in Shechem before? They killed the whole city of Shechem. Shechem is a rough and tumble town. Right? So what does he say? He tells Yosef, go see how your brothers are doing there. Yosef says, Hineni, here I am, sort of like, all right. Hineni is, I'm ready to do what you're telling me to do, even though, is that what we really want me to do? Right? Where do we have Hineni? God tells Avram, take your son, your only son, the one you love. Hineni, okay, right, I'll do it. Right? Hineni, I'm ready to do what you commanded me to do. He said, Hineni. Right? He's thinking, why my father sending me there? This is dangerous. He gets there, what happens? The brothers take him, strip off his coat, send him into a pit. They sell him as a slave. What? Now, what's he thinking? Perhaps.
His father did it.
Maybe Dad's in on this. Maybe Dad had enough of this fighting amongst his kids, and he sided with the 10 against the 1. Maybe, maybe not. Let's see what happens. Let's see if my father sends out a search party. Let's see if they come to get me, come bring me home. He's brought down to Mitzrayim. No one comes down to Mitzrayim. No one's looking for him. We know the brothers took his coat and slaughtered the goat and dipped it into the blood and showed it to the father. And the father said, oh, it's Yosef. Yosef's been torn apart. And his father is mourning for 22 years. Does he know that? No, we read that in the Torah. He doesn't know that. The last thing he heard from his father was rebuke for his dream, sending him out to Shechem of all places to check on the brothers that everyone knows hates him. And then he gets sold, and then he is sent away. He does not know how his father feels. Now, what's also fascinating is Paro. Right? He interprets Paro's dreams. Paro. Paro. Thank you, Dove. Sorry. Paro gives him a wife, and he has 2 children. What are the children's names? The first one is, right, Menashe. The oldest one is Menashe. Why is he called Menashe? Page 230. Ki nashani elokim et kol ha'meliv et kol beit avi. God has made me forget all my hardship and all my father's household. What does he want to forget? He wants to forget his childhood. That was terrible. Right? I mean, you speak to some people and they want to forget their childhood. And you hear their story and you don't blame them for wanting to forget their childhood. Now all of a sudden these brothers come back. Is he going to say, hi, I'm Yosef? No, this is like I've moved on. Why didn't he write home? He's afraid if he writes home, they're going to come kill him again. They don't want to hear from him. What's the worst possible thing? He writes home, and he includes a self-addressed stamped envelope, and nothing comes. They want, right? According to him, he doesn't know how they're feeling, and there's no search party. So therefore, right? He's not writing home. He's moved on. But then what does he hear?
Rabbi?
Just one second. For the first time, when Yehuda is talking to him, now he hears this. He said, you know my wife bore me 2 sons. One has left me, and I presumed, at last he has been surely torn to pieces. I have not seen him since. All of a sudden this lightning bolt goes off in his head. His head's probably exploding. That's what happened. That's what happened. My father was not in on this. And my father, and he's hearing about his father's been mourning him. You take this one too? I'll go down to the grave. Right? All of a sudden, that's what happened. That's what happened. And he sees how the brothers have stood up for Binyamin. And Yosef. I'm Yosef. It's a whole different approach. But I think the lesson, right, we always assume everyone knows what we know, and therefore why are they doing what they're doing? Don't be so quick to assume that everyone knows what you know, everyone sees it the same way that you see it. Like this, it's a whole different slant, right? It's not, why didn't he write home? Because he wasn't going to get a response, right? No one cared about him. That's why he's not writing home. Dove.
Also to kind of fit in there, is what were they studying before he sent him to the brothers? They're studying, what if you find a dead body over, right, between...
So you want to add that. Interesting, Dove. Interesting idea. Right, they were studying Egla Rufo, so maybe his father was ominously letting him know what he planned for him. Is that what you're saying? Perhaps. Interesting. It does have ominous overtones. Right. The Medrash says the last thing that they studied was finding a dead body and not knowing which town or what was the cause of its death. Janet.
So it's entirely possible, but it still presents challenges, this approach, because someone who's so sensitive and so tuned into prophecy and sort of has these intuitive sensibilities and had this time away to mature, the fact that he wouldn't have the slant and sensibility of, maybe he didn't know what they knew, but that after such a good bond and relationship with his father, that his father was in on it, that's like...
Okay, but then again, the last 2 things he had with his father was his father rebuking him, right, about the dream, and then sending him off. Right? I think we had some questions. I'm not saying this is glot. I'm saying these are all valid approaches, right? And this actually stays tight with the actual wording.
So talking about not knowing what the prophecy is in the future, and why did they just not send the food to Yaakov? Some of them did know what was going to happen, but maybe not exactly how it was going to happen, about the slavery part. Didn't Abraham know? and maybe
Okay.
this got passed down so that it
Yes,
was
but
made.
that slavery is talking about the whole nation. Perhaps,
Right.
look,
But it had to start somewhere.
interesting. There is some talk that there were thoughts that maybe this would have been the fulfillment of the whole slavery, and now we're ready for the geula.
But
Halavai.
sending
That
the
wasn't
whole
meant to be. Yeah,
family in
yeah,
for
yeah.
the reason that they either knew or didn't know.
yeah. Laura, and then.
So, in responding to Janet, what I'd heard about the part of the motivation, giving the benefit of the doubt to the brothers, is yes, there was animosity, but they were also looking at this little pipsqueak of a brother who was going to completely mess up the prophecy of the family. Because with all of his dreaminess, whatever, that he was going to get in the way of the greatness of the family. Okay. And so, in addition to the last interactions with his father, the Parsha a couple weeks ago says that either when he was tattletaling on his brothers or was recounting the dreams, the father kept the matter in mind. And so if the father is also keeping the matter in mind that, this doesn't bode well for the greatness of the family, and he really may mess it up. So it also, even from kind of a prophetic level, it would make sense that here's my family, they misinterpreted it, they thought that I was going to mess up the prophecy, and even though my father loved me, and even though we have this amazing bond, if he thinks that for the benefit of the entire future of the nation, I need to be out of the picture, that my father would be capable of doing that.
Maybe so be it.
So that what Dov said and what they were studying and everything.
Yeah, interesting. Linda.
I'm going to throw a little wrench in here. How can he be so sure that the family did not sin? He was in prison for many years. He doesn't know what's going. Wait.
The prison was at a later point.
Well, I'm going to just
Okay.
do a second thing on that. And there are all these people coming to Egypt anyway to get food. Why would he have a chance to hear about them?
Okay, so nice point. But I think in the house of Potiphar at first, he was not in prison. He was a servant there, but he was running the house, right?
Okay.
So I imagine he would have thought, at least on the way down there or soon after there, right? He would have sensed something, right? Might it have happened he didn't know about it? That's a possibility. But all we know is what we know. Right? And there was, to the best of his knowledge, nothing. Dead silence on the other end of the line. Dead silence. Right? All possibilities. Okay, my friends, we'll call it over here. Yes, Lupe.
Yes, I just want to add, because he was a prophet to Joseph, Jacob. He knew the prophecy of the dream of the son is to come true. But as you say, maybe was a little bit blurred or something. But when he mentioned to his son, what do you mean that me and your mother is going to be bound? So that's teaching me that sometimes we have to deny our things to keep the shalom.
Yeah.
To keep the shalom by.
Sometimes we might have to act like, we're bothered by, at times for Shalom Bayit, we have to take those steps.
Could I just add
Just one second, before anyone leaves, Natalie and I will be away the next 2 Tuesdays. Okay? If you'd all like to get together and study Parsha together, right? The room will be open, but we will not be here the next 2 Tuesdays.
Rabbi.
Yes.
Why didn't Yaakov say to Yosef, why didn't he explain to him about the things that he was bringing the tails back and explaining what was going on and say, don't do this anymore? There were,